The Oklahoma City Thunder get their best win, their most improbable win, as SGA delivers another MVP level performance.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Styles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Styles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into the Oklahoma City Thunder getting a big win over the Boston Celtics in a game that really summarized the Thunder's season to date. SGA was the MVP. Lu Dort had a fourth quarter barrage of threes and so much more. Make sure you check out FanDuel for the biggest upsets to the game-winning drives. The NFL playoffs are here and better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose, at FanDuel.com to get started. And what a game this was for the Thunder. So when you come into this game, the Thunder have won 14 in a row, now 15 in a row, and you're just thinking something has to give. How much pressure can the dam take before it breaks? Because you are navigating the season flawlessly without Chet Holmgren, who's going to miss the vast majority of this season. And then Alex Caruso has been in and out of the lineup, another big blow. And then you saw AJ Mitchell leave Friday night with a toe sprain. You're still able to win Friday, but now you don't have him at all for this game against the reigning champion, fully healthy Boston Celtics. In an afternoon game in which the Thunder have struggled at times in the afternoon last year, the Thunder were only 2-point favorites. It felt like a game in which the Thunder were due, for lack of a better term, to lose, especially once Boston grew a 13-point lead and really nursed that lead, having a double-digit lead midway through the third quarter. And so even after halftime, when you're thinking this is a second half team, or perhaps there's some sort of flip of a switch for the Thunder, it felt like a game where the Thunder just did not have enough. You did not get enough offensively from J-Dub. You did not have your secondary creator in AJ Mitchell. You did not have your two most talented defenders who are in street clothes. And the Celtics are the Celtics. And they had an answer for every Thunder run until they didn't. Until they didn't. And that is why this game perfectly sums up this Thunder season. For as good as they are, for the best start in franchise history, the longest winning streak in franchise history, living up to the hype of bona fide contenders that was placed on them since the day that they signed Isaiah Hartenstein, it's not been through a lack of adversity. They've had to battle a lot. And this was the game where it should have been too much to bear. But instead, the Thunder fought for all 48 minutes, and they come away with a game in which they grow a 13-point lead, and they win 105-92, not letting Boston get over 100 points in this game, thanks to the fact that Boston scored 27 points in the second half. This was an incredible Thunder game. It was a game in which you lost the rebounding battle by just 2. You won the turnover margin by just 1. Typically, the Thunder force way more turnovers than they ever give up, but the turnover battle was 16-15. The Thunder had some uncharacteristic Westbrookian turnaways at the end of this game, to where like the Westbrook level turnovers at the end of this game felt like it was going to come back to haunt them. Jay Will threw away 2 possessions. He dropped back to pass like Rex Grossman and threw the ball all over the court. Shai had some very, very bad possessions with the ball, which is unheard of from him his entire career. And you were able to withstand all of that. And I think that this just shows you, stop writing the Thunder's obituary. This is like the 6th straight game in which, in this winning streak, the Thunder have gotten down. The Thunder have not looked good. The Thunder have looked opposite of their identity. And everybody's on Twitter either freaking out, right? Like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Or, well, they were kind of due for a loss and giving all the reasoning for why they were going to lose. And then you look up and the Thunder win 105-97. Or 92, I should say. You can't count this team out. They're not dead until the final buzzer sounds. And that's the testament of a good team. And you can say that the Thunder flip a switch, which I think gets a negative connotation. But I don't necessarily agree, and this is semantics, but I don't necessarily agree that they can flip a switch. I think what it is a young team. And the way you contextualize the Thunder being a young team is this. It's not going to stop them from winning anything. It's not going to stop them from reaching their end goal. If they're not hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy in June, it's not going to be due to their average age. But you see in a game like this, the Celtics were able to meet the physicality, to meet the moment from opening tip as a team that's battle-tested, that's been there, that's won a championship, that's fought for many more. They were ready to go as soon as the ball was in the air. And there you are, and you're running for your life, and you're a shooting star. They were ready to go right away. The Thunder weren't. And they haven't been in most of these games against contenders. They weren't ready against New York, right? Just look at the last two games against bona fide contenders. I think where the youth comes in is it takes the Thunder a little bit to get the car back on the road, to see the pictures and course correct. To the Thunder's credit, they're able to course correct mid-game. I think that what it is the Thunder have to see what's going to be required of them each and every night and then go raise to that level. They had to do it against the Pacers. So it's not just a great teams thing. It's a young team thing, I think. That each and every night, something different is required. The games are officiated differently every single night. Your matchups are different every single night. Their strengths to combat your strengths are different every single night. And the Thunder take a little bit to settle into a game. To their credit, they have not let that stop them from winning games. I mean, not only is this the best start in franchise history, but you're smack dab in the middle of a 15-game winning streak. And that can come back to bite you, not being ready to go. Like, eventually, you can bury yourself in a hole that's too steep to come back from. But why I think that this is not going to hold the Thunder back, but instead is a positive trait, is because even in the midst of, like, the Thunder playing as bad as they can play, they got down 10. 10 points in the modern NBA is nothing. Even against Indiana, a worse team where they had a similar kind of sluggish start, they got down 14. So the Thunder might get down, but they're never going to be out because these guys have a unique ability to adjust on the fly. And that defensive physicality at the start of this game was not good enough. It just wasn't. But in the second half, they played to their identity. They played all-world defense. And you look up, and Boston ends up shooting 36% from the floor, 19% from three, and 87% from the free throw line. I think that today, you're going to hear a lot about shooting variance and like, oh, Boston's not going to shoot that poorly again. Forget that, man. Like that's not true. Boston was shooting well in the first half whenever they got any shot that they wanted. They were on an unbelievable clip in that first half at the rim. They just got easy look after easy look. They made 51% of their shots at the rim. And they didn't make threes all night, which is why they shot 16%. But they got any shot they wanted inside against this excellent Thunder defense. And in the second half, they shot 20% from the floor after shooting 51 and shot 12% from three. And after Jalen Brown had 21 in the first half, he had 0 in the second half. Derek White had 0 in the second half. Drew Holiday had 0 in the second half. Their bench combined for 5 points in the second half. Kristaps Porzingis, who was killing and feasting upon the Thunder in the first half, in the second half, he goes 2 for 7. 1 for 5 from three. And you go back and you look at, on NBA.com, you can do this. You can just go to the box score of the game on the official NBA website. You can click on the blue box underneath field goal attempts for every player. You can go back and watch Jalen Brown, for example, and watch all of his field goal attempts starting in the first half, and it takes you all the way through the end of the game. The reason he shot so poorly in the second half is that the Thunder harassed him. This had much more to do with the Thunder's defense than it did with shooting variance or an off night from Boston. Would you ever pick the Celtics to shoot 19% from three again? Of course not. But a lot of that was due to Oklahoma City. And they did that without their two best defenders. So I just think that this one was a very improbable win. And you've got to just enjoy it. I mean, 13-3 on the fast break. Second chance points was 16-14. And then points in the paint was 42-40 in OKC's favor. You've got to enjoy wins like this, where there's no real reason the Thunder won, frankly, other than they were a resilient group. They stuck with it for 48 minutes, and they put on more steam. I mean, you as a Tennessee fan, I relate a lot of things to Tennessee. I made a Jonathan Crompton reference on Dream Team tonight. But one of the maxims to win games is when the breaks don't go your way, put on more steam and keep fighting, basically. And that's exactly what this Thunder team does. It was going so poorly in this game that the Celtics missed a shot off the side of the backboard and put it back in. Like, that kind of stuff can either deflate you or it can ignite you to keep fighting. And the reality is, if you keep fighting with the way this Thunder team can create possessions, you're going to win the game. And the Thunder know that, and they keep going at it. What I found the most encouraging from this, and we're going to talk about Shai's MVP performance and the fact that he single-handedly, in the midst of adversity of, this being a poor misstep by the NBA, which we're going to get into, he did flip the MVP narrative tonight. What I found most encouraging about this game, most extrapolating, like if you want to take one thing from 1 of 82 and implement it long-term, look at Boston's half-court offense. They were dreadful in the half-court. And they have Tatum and Brown and Porzingis. Whenever you don't have your Porzingis matchup, Hartenstein's been awesome. He's not a Porzingis defender. Like, he's just not. Like, you much rather would have Chet on Porzingis. Chet's, absence has been felt none more than in this game. So, like, the Celtics have all the pieces to be a really good half-court offense, and they've shown it in the playoffs of how good they are. And yet, the Thunder, when you slow the game down, the Thunder got you right where they want you, with as many defenders as they can throw at you, even without their two best. And that's the stuff that matters in the playoffs. Because in the playoffs, everything's slowed down. It is a half-court game through and through. You've heard it. It's a tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme. In the playoffs, it takes the half-court defense and offense. The Thunder forced the Celtics into just scratch your eyeballs out bad offense in the half-court. And that's really encouraging. And even in the midst of their defensive struggles in the first half, the Celtics still could not get anything going in the half court. They did it through transition. They did it through artificial transition, where they get the inbound off of a made shot and really get into their action without any time going off the shot clock. But when they tried to slow things down, they were awful. And that's a testament to Oklahoma City. And that's what I think you should take from this moving forward, along with, don't write the obituaries. Like, we would have had 2 days to write that obituary for this game. You don't have to do it at intermission. You really don't. Coming up, we'll talk about SGA's MVP level game. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at PrizePicks. Go check out PrizePicks today and download their app. I personally love PrizePicks. Basketball season is heating up. There's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with PrizePicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, PrizePicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. You pick more or less than at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money, even 1,000 times your money on some nights. You can go with LeBron. Is he going to drop 30 points tonight? Or maybe is Luka going to get more than 8 assists? Or Shai going to get 5 rebounds? Whatever their prize pick projection is, you pick more or less, and boom, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. You can make these picks in just 60 seconds. So go check it out today, because I love using PrizePicks. It is available in Oklahoma, so it is very fun. It's addictive. This week, you can have Jason Tatum more than 29 points and Anthony Edwards for more than 25 points. It's that kind of action that I'm talking about that makes it really fun to go watch games where, like, hey, the Thunder have 2 straight off days. You want to go make some of these games more interesting that you're watching non-Thunder games? You can go do it at PrizePicks. Go check it out today. it's now the perfect time to join because you can download the app today, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Don't even have to win. Don't even have to win. You just get this bonus $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. What a performance from Shai. I mean, SGA showed you why he's the MVP. 33 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. None bigger than the block on Tatum in transition. If Tatum gets that breakaway, finish, this is a whole different game. Whole different game. 3 for 6 from 3. None bigger than that step back 3. Like those 2 plays, when he wins MVP and you put together the sizzle reel of his season, those 2 plays will be on it. The Tatum block leads to the Hartenstein alley-oop. The step back 3 is the moment where it felt like, okay, the Thunder can win this game. Like this is not just some spunky run to make it look more respectable or some run where the Celtics are going to regroup. No, that 3, it legitimized the game. It legitimized this win. He shot 47% from the floor, and it's another game like Friday where you look at some of those misses, and I know they're not all going to go in, but how many times have you seen these rise up at the nail middies go in, and in this game, they awkwardly bounce off the rim to where he still shot 47% from the floor. That's still impressive, but it could have been one of those 50% type games. One of his best sequences was actually getting blocked by Derek White in the mid-range, and that block goes right back to Shai, and Shai then takes advantage of it with a baseline mid-range jumper. So the block almost put him in position at his favorite spot on the court. But the way that Shai controlled this game and controlled the tempo, the only flaws of this game was those couple turnovers late. But aside from that, when the Thunder needed to get to the line and slow things down, he got there. 8 for 8 at the free throw line. He generated looks for himself, and he generated looks for others. And it's another game where, Boston holds you at arm's distance. You get it down to a 1-point game. You come back in at the 8-minute mark. You know that, Netflix is in the crowd watching, filming, trying to, get all the storylines. You're trying to keep this winning streak alive. He's been open about how much he's looked forward to this game. All of that stuff builds on itself, and it would have been very easy for Shai to press and do too much. He kept playing his game. He played it the right way, and the Thunder win. And the Thunder win behind his plus 12 and behind his 33 points. I thought Shai was incredible in this one. Lu Dort. He had a tale of 2 halves. Really a tale of 1 quarter and 3 versus 3. In that fourth quarter, Lu Dort went 4 for 6 from 3 in that fourth quarter. And the second half, I should say. In the fourth quarter, Lu Dort went 3 for 3 from 3. 4 for 6 overall. In the final frame, Lu Dort went 3 for 3, 1 for 1 inside the arc, 11 points, 1 steal, 2 assists. 2 rebounds. Plus 11 in the fourth quarter. Now, I'll admit, Lu Dort was awful in the first half. Like if you were gonna say, what's the worst version of Lu Dort with this Thunder team? It was that first half. He's missing shots, taking some ill-advised possessions even. But in that second half, he not only rose to the occasion of shutting down Jaylen Brown, but he hit timely 3 after timely 3, the dagger where it was just deflating and too much for Boston to even continue to try. That's the kind of stuff you like to see from Lu Dort. And it's another example of, well, he's not a young player himself. It's another example of a guy seeing the game, seeing his mistakes, and instantly correcting them. Where oftentimes mistakes don't get corrected until, the next day. When you're watching film and you're reviewing it and you're thinking how you can do better. this team's ability to quickly adjust to a game is what's going to take them so far. And nothing embodied that more than Lu Dort's night. Because rightfully, people had the pitchforks up for Lu Dort, and then he quickly shuts everybody up in that fourth quarter. And he finishes with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. 4 for 9 from 3 with mallet finger. And again, what shows you the first half, second half, he went 4 for 9 from 3, but 5 of 14 overall. So I just thought that Lu Dort's fourth quarter was huge. Obviously, Shai's MVP game was huge. But also, what can give you some, optimism about this is, for as much as you should be enjoying this ride right now, and no matter what, you should enjoy this ride, because while the goal for everybody is to win a championship, only one team gets to win it every single year. And one day, just like with the Russ and KD era, one day you will miss the everyday grind of this team, of watching this team compete every single night at the level that they're competing. So I'd really encourage you to soak this all in. I think that there were some moments of that Russ KD era where the NBA is so new and you almost had this sense of entitlement of like, okay, we got this team. They're great. This is how it always is. You've seen the other side now of that coin. And one day in the distant future, you'll get back to that other side of the coin. But for right now, you've just got to embrace what this team is and what this team's identity is. Because in my opinion, this team's identity and this team's spirit and fight and togetherness and roster construction is a billion times better than the Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant age. Not to detract from what they did, but this is a better roster. This is a better style of play. This is a better team than those teams. So you've got to really enjoy it. But one thing I think that you can look at and say, man, this team can get even better, is that they did this without 3 rotational pieces, 2 of them being like otherworldly defenders, and Chet being someone who changes a game on both ends. Like on both ends. Because we're going to talk about J-Dub coming up. We'll talk about the bench coming up, and we'll talk about the NBA's misstep. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need, from live betting to same-game parlays and so much more. So visit the website and check them out. Even if you only like the NBA, you can bet on the NBA there as well. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And again, they also have the NBA there, where you can go check them out and say, hey, I'm going to be watching the Knicks and Magic game tomorrow. The Knicks are 11-point favorites at home over the Magic. Go check it out at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Wow. What a game it was. Let's talk J-Dub. I thought J-Dub was sensational defensively. Offensively, he clearly left a lot to be desired. He had really 2 big plays of his 3 makes. Like the mid-range shot was improbable, and that was fun. As we've seen, not entirely repeatable. The one play that I did love from J-Dub was the Gortat screen from Hartenstein that wipes away Tatum. He spins his way from the slot all the way to the rim and has an easy layup. Like, getting to the rim more will be huge from him. It's the same thing we've talked about for the last month with J-Dub, but you needed more from him offensively. Ended up winning the game anyway. But I don't think any of us believe that this is the version of J-Dub from now on. I don't think that any of us are just like throwing our hands up and saying, well, this is just J-Dub, right? So that's part of the reason why that this win is not only improbable, but like, as fun as it is, you still can close your eyes today and think and daydream about like, what can this team be, period? Because on top of getting Chet back eventually, on top of having Caruso in the fold eventually, there will come a day that J-Dub is the J-Dub that you remember as a scorer. And to his credit, he has not let this scoring drought impact his defense. And that's been a big thing for young players. Like young players typically, they let one bad part of their game influence the other and compound on itself. J-Dub has been special defensively. And he's not going to get the recognition he deserves defensively because there's so many other guys that you want to praise first on this defense. But J-Dub's been really good on that end and very versatile on that end. But offensively, he's got to be better. And I think he will be better. And when that comes, like when that dam breaks, like J-Dub's flooding in points, what heights does this team go to? Like where does this team go from here? As already the best start in franchise history, a 15-game winning streak, already a team that's viewed as the favorites out west, and a team that's viewed to win a championship. Like where does it go once that happens? Something to think about. Something to think about. Wiggins was massive. Wiggins was again massive. 3 for 6 from 3. And this is the Aaron Wiggins that was promised. Like the one that I've talked about all year long of whenever for the last 3 years I've been beating the drum of more Wiggins. It's because he's your best player offensively off the bench. Like sure, Isaiah Joe's shooting. He's a streaky shooter. Wiggins is the one who can get to his spots repeatedly and go score the basketball. He had 15 off the bench. He was a +2 off the bench. One of the only 2 players with a positive plus-minus off the bench. J. Will being the other one. Pretty forgettable night offensively for J. Will. Only had 2 shots. He made one of them being from 3, but he had the 2 turnovers. He did have the massive rebound, which I think that rebound, the offensive rebound, is only one of the game. I think that saved the game because without that Shai drive at the shot clock off that offensive rebound, if you don't get that bucket, this game totally swings back momentum-wise to Boston. And that was all due to J. Will getting that offensive rebound. I thought defensively, he really had his best stretch defensively in this game. +6 off the bench. But Wiggins was really good for Oklahoma City. And Hartenstein, I thought that his rebounds were big. He had the and one alley-oop. He had 3 blocks, each one more impressive than the last, including 1 block of Tatum that just went soaring into the Thunder bench. I thought Cason Wallace deserves a lot of credit for what he did. Whenever Cason goes hard at the rim instead of settling for floaters, his offensive game can become even better. But I thought he filled in really well offensively, and of course we know what he is defensively. It's just a menace. But the NBA had a critical misstep. And I think that it's easy to talk about Celtics Thunder, this should have been national television. I think that the misstep is multi-level, right? So when does the NBA schedule come out? It comes out in August. What do you have in hand by August for 4 months? The NFL schedule. When you decided to put this game on Sunday afternoon, you knew that it was the final week of the NFL regular season. You knew that there were some games with massive implications for the playoffs. You knew that there were other games that meant nothing at all. And you decided to put this game between last year's 1 seeds at 2:30 on NFL Sunday. I'm fine with that. Because you know what? You look at the Boston TV market, look at the Thunder TV market, which would include Kansas City, right? Include Kansas City, include Oklahoma City, include North Texas a bit. That Chiefs game meant nothing. So the Patriots game meant nothing. The Chiefs game meant nothing. Would have been killer in those 2 destinations. On top of half the NFL meant nothing. So you might be turning the page a bit to basketball season if you had the option to watch this game. And if you want to put this game on at 2:30 on the final Sunday of the year, I'm cool with it. But go all in. You can't be half pregnant. Go all in. Your biggest television partner is ABC. ABC has 0 NFL coverage today. They only have the rights to Monday Night Football. They have 1 more football game of the year, which is next Monday in the wildcard game. Force them to say, hey, you're taking this game. right? It's Thunder Celtics. Could get killed in the ratings, but if you don't have Sunday ticket, there's a pretty good chance that in your specific region, that the NFL game that you were shown meant nothing and just didn't matter or meant very little. I'm all for competing. I think that the NBA should stop acquiescing to the NFL so much. But if you're going to compete, go compete. Especially when it's not like your biggest partner is Fox or CBS. If that was the case, okay, yes, they're not going to preempt the NFL for this game. But your biggest partner is ABC. This could have easily been a Sunday afternoon ABC game. Start that yearly, hallmark, which usually happens after football season. Start that right now and just let it ride. And I get it, it'd be kind of awkward to have one here, go through the playoffs without one, then pick it back up. But you already made the decision to make this a 2:30 game on Sunday. So go all in with it. Because I think that you would have won. I think you would have been surprised, actually, with what the ratings would have been. Because you got the game that you wanted. What you wanted was two juggernauts going at it in a game that was entertaining from the word go, in a game that never waned, with stars all over the court, and you got it. I mean, you had a 21-point half from Jalen Brown. Sure, he laid a dud in the second half. You had an MVP performance from Shai. You had big Tatum shots. You had Porzingis going off. You got the game that you desperately wanted. You got two styles of play where Tatum's operating with mid-range jumpers. We know that Shai is stellar in the mid-range. People could have seen this style of play and maybe change their perception, especially watching Shai, of what the NBA is. But instead, you haphazardly did it. And now, you have one more chance because these two teams only play twice a year. So you have one more chance guaranteed to you to get this matchup in front of the NBA audience. One more. That's it. Unless they meet in the finals. And that's just silly. That's a misstep. Especially when you knew what this was. You knew when you made your schedule that these circumstances were in play. And that's part of the NBA's bevy of missteps recently. They've been getting killed for a lot of different moves. This chief among them, frankly. But we'll see what happens moving forward. National TV game Wednesday against the Cavs. Let's see how these two teams go at it. We'll preview that game. We'll talk more about this game and so much more on tomorrow's Locked On Thunder. Thank you so much for listening to today's Locked On Thunder. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.